Hey folks, welcome back to the Unbeatable Mind podcast. This is Mark Devine. Super stoked to have you with me today. Thanks so much for your time and your attention. My guest today is Brian Dickinson. And Brian has a really interesting story, and he's a fellow teammate, served with me in the Navy as an air rescue swimmer. Is that what we call it?
Yep.
Air rescue swimmer? And has done some really interesting things. But before I get into the specifics, as per SOP, I'd like to tell you about something else that's important to me, and that is raising money for veterans who are suffering from post-traumatic stress. A couple years ago, I was inspired to launch the Courage Foundation, and now I'm on the board of directors now and really supporting it through singular initiatives. This year's initiative is this crazy idea I had in December of 2017, and that was to do 22 million burpees. Not myself, but with a team. Right, 22 million myself would be a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little excessive.
A little bit unreasonable. So I challenged my team at SEAL Fit and Unbeatable Mind to join me. About 175 folks have, and so far we're at 11 million burpees.
Awesome.
Since January 1st. Our goal is 22 million, and to raise $250,000, we're at close to 200,000. The money will go to directly support veterans who are suffering from post-traumatic stress. Because as you're aware, Brian, 22 of our teammates a day are committing suicide.
Yep. And
when I heard that number, my heart broke, and I can't believe it. But, the veteran system is good intentioned as these people are in the VA. They aren't helping, right? They're not able to help.
Right.
So I decided that we all had to do something about it. So we're raising money and awareness, and we're going to help out. So if you'd like to, support, then check out our initiative at burpeesforvets.com, and you can either sponsor a team, or you can sponsor me, or just learn about it. Okay, burpeesforvets.com. And the Courage Foundation is found at feedcourage.org. Feedcourage.org. And so, humbly ask for your support. Thanks. So Brian Dickinson, air rescue swimmer, back in the 90s, so we overlapped.
Yeah.
When did you get in the Navy?
93.
93. Did you get in at like 18-year-old kid kind of thing, like most kids
19,
go through boot camp?
Yep.
93. So I was at SEAL Team 3 in 93. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and what inspired you to join the Navy to be a rescue swimmer.
Yeah, well, I came from a family of Navy.
Did you?
So I think when it's instilled in you, that kind of helps. Kind of
For sure.
Put some impressions growing up. But I grew up in the 80s, so not a lot of technology, no social media, no distractions.
Right.
It was just a different world back then.
Right.
Grew up in Southern Oregon. It's very adventurous. And, I don't know, nothing was ever given to me. So it's, everything that I've ever achieved, I really had to go after.
Mm-hmm.
So college was less appealing right out of high school. I wanted to go see the world and just be bigger than.
And Navy's
I
a
thought it
great
was.
way to do that.
Sure is, and it pays for college, pays for bachelor's and a master's, which is amazing. But yeah, and I didn't want to go in and clean toilets either. Every job is important, but we're all wired differently, and that wasn't my thing. So wanted to be a SEAL. But I wanted to not go to BUD/S and fail out from injury or something out of my control. I wanted to have a backup plan. So I'm a planner, so I went to Air Rescue Swimmer School. In fact,
you went there before BUD/S and thinking that maybe after that you could cross over.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of air rescue swimmers who have crossed over to BUD/S.
Yeah. So I guess the unfortunate thing, maybe fortunate, you never know how things would have turned out. I was in 93, so the first Gulf War just ended, so there was the downsizing.
Right.
So my whole class of rescue swimmer school, at rescue swimmer school, went through the end test. The majority of us passed, and they put us all on pause.
Are you serious?
So we had to do at least, I think, 4 years of our commitment. And
before becoming a rescue swimmer?
Yeah. No, before going to BUD/S.
Oh, before you could ever do any transfer.
Yeah. So we did our swimmer time. So, had friends that did their time, went to BUD/S, became SEALs. By that time, I was ready to move on.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the job of the air rescue swimmer. It's a lot like the Coast Guardsmen, right, who jump out of plane or helicopters to find people who are stranded at sea, or to
Yeah.
provide like medical assistance, right? And stuff like that.
Yeah. So our motto is "So others may live." So it's the whole point is to save others. So on a carrier, we're the first and last aircraft to take off and land. When there's flight ops.
Are you up in the air while there's flight ops going on?
Yeah, always.
Always, huh?
Yep. So doing lots of circles on the right side of the carrier, just waiting for someone to eject, someone to fall over. You never know what the mission may be. And like the Coast Guard, we do the training together. So very similar because it's the same training. But what we do additionally is we have secondary, tertiary skills like anti-submarine warfare, combat search and rescue, working with SEALs, spy rigs and fast roping.
And what was your specialty?
Well, everything.
Everything.
Yeah, on the
Just
carrier
like a
doing
SEAL,
everything.
you specialize in everything. Right?
Aerial gunner, yeah. It's like jack of all.
Right.
And hopefully master of some.
Yeah, right. What was the most interesting thing that you got to do, or the most meaningful event while you were an air rescue swimmer?
Yeah, I mean, it's so many. 6 years, 2 tours of Operation Southern Watch over in the Gulf. But
like any particular rescue that comes to mind, or an event?
yeah, I mean, anytime you're involved in something, it's just a selfless act. And I think in the moment you're so focused on what you're doing. It's after the fact when you actually can reflect on it and realize like that was pretty cool.
Right.
But in the moment, maybe you have those experiences.
Yes, it's not often very cool in the moment.
Yeah, for you. and you're right.
Afterwards, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of to reflect, but it's total chaos, and all that training comes into play. I mean, we were in the Gulf, and they blew the whistle, people in the water, and I'm on alert 30. We're spinning up, and we don't know what we're doing.
What's alert 30 mean?
Means we have to be in the helicopter, dressed, ready to rescue within 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay.
So, like when we're going through the straits, we'll be alert 5. It'll actually be spinning, ready to launch
Right.
the whole
And you're
whole
on
flight deck.
standby. You're already jocked up, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And there was actually some Iraqis that were fishermen over there, so good people. Their boat had sank, and they'd been in the water for like 5 days. Half the crew was eaten by sharks. And,
Oh, good Lord.
So we launch, and we don't really know what we're in for, but we had to actually launch a Zodiac with Marines, shotguns on them. I'm backed off, got the M240.
Because you didn't know what you're going to find.
We don't know good or bad. We just know that they were in a bad condition. If we would have tried to hoist them, their skin could have degloved from their body because they've been in the water for so long.
Wow.
So they kind of rolled them into the Zodiac, and those guys were barely alive and just so appreciative. But it's, it's things like that where
Interesting.
if I'd have went just to college, I would never have
You'd never have
experienced
those
it.
experiences.
It's very unique.
So what made you get out of the Navy after your first tour?
I think I was just ready. I was, some people are lifers. It's their career. I think I was ready to settle
had the
down.
adventures that you needed. And
I did in that space. I met my wife to be at the time, and being away for 6 months at a time was really difficult. I wanted to continue college and just continue down a different path, find new adventures.
Yeah, good for you. I got off active duty because of my marriage, so it sounds similar. And I tried. I gave it the old college try.
Sure.
It's like the Navy would say, Mark, we know you're married. My SEAL teammates were basically my bosses, and they're my friends. They're like, yeah, you don't have to worry. You get some downtime.
Sure.
A week later, I'm gone
I know.
for 6 weeks, or I can't even tell her when I'm going to be back. And
Yeah.
I don't even have an idea.
Right.
So the second time that happened, my wife gave me the come to Jesus talk. She's like, this isn't going to work. So you made a good choice, I think.
Yeah, sounds like you did too.
Yeah, I did. So what came after that? Like, what did you went back to college?
Yeah.
What did you study?
Yeah, so I had finished my bachelor's in information technology. Then my wife and I got our master's. We moved up to the Pacific Northwest, just out of Seattle. Got my MBA. She got her master's in social work.
So you went to school together? At the same place, same
no,
time?
separate schools up there.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then, I just started working in the high-tech industry, right time, right place, and got into sales, pre-sales engineer, and now I'm an account manager, yeah. I work out of my home, so it adds a lot of flexibility for my other adventure in life.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that now. So clearly you kept that thirst for adventure that you found in the Navy as an air rescue swimmer, and you carried into extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
You became a mountaineer.
Right.
So I want to get into your book here because you've written this book about an experience you had on Mount Everest called Blind Descent. Can you see that, Jeff? But tell us about how you got into mountaineering and like what that progression was like before getting to this particular incident that we could spend some time on.
Yeah. So the Pacific Northwest has the Cascades, so a beautiful range up there, Mount Rainier, the most highly glaciated peak in the lower 48. And, growing up in Southern Oregon, I grew up in the mountains. I used to build like obstacle courses like through the mountains back when I was in high school. It's funny, I just went back to my parents' place a couple years ago and brought my kids around, and like all the ropes are still there and they're like wanting to climb them. Like, no, that thing's gonna snap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, just always wired differently, just adventures just in some of us. And it's where other people just don't get it. There's 7 billion people on this earth, and
everyone's
small amount will get it. So it is what it is. But living up there in the Cascades.
So on that point though, hang on. Yep. What is it about being outside in the mountains that allures you so much or keeps pulling you back?
Yeah, I just think it's nature and just the creation that's out there and just being away. So
when you go out, do you go out alone or with a team?
It depends.
Or both?
Yeah, I'm comfortable alone, soloed Everest.
I have remarkable memories of being in the mountains of the Adirondacks and Alaska and different places alone.
Yeah.
There's something about that.
There is a difference.
There's obviously a higher risk factor, but it's just
that's all
beautiful
calculated.
to be silent in nature like that, isn't it?
It is, but it's also great to bring out teammates and just, a core group that you bring out. Maybe it's just one other guy. There's one of my best friends. He's living with a brain tumor for the last 7 years, and he's one of the most fit guys and motivational guys, no excuses. He's just out there just killing it. And I love just going out. We try to get out and do some unique things each year. And then having kids, bringing them out as well now, and they're kind of getting the bug. And but yeah, it's almost like the military though, because you got all the cool gear. Right. You have to prepare.
You have to plan.
Got to plan, and you have to take calculated risks, and you live and die by the decisions.
Right.
So maybe the military ingrained that.
Does your wife participate, or how does she think about?
She and I could not be more opposite.
Really?
Yeah, she's scared of heights, scared of speed, scared of water. And it's a great marriage.
But she's okay that you go out and do this.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament of who she is, and she tries to instill that in others that she counsels. I know that you have to allow your spouse to be who they are. If you try to suppress that, they're not going to be. I don't do well with downtime. Your broken foot, your foot there, and
it didn't slow me down. Trust me.
No, I know, and I'm the same, and it's tough, and maybe that's something that we need to work on. But
for sure, Sandy would tell me, and my wife, she does, as a matter of fact, all the time. So, the experiences in the Cascades gave you a lot of confidence, and so you had this idea in your head that you could solo Mount Everest.
No, not really. No, I got an idea that I could climb the highest peaks on the 7 continents.
Okay, the 7
and that was
sisters?
a part of.
Okay, so it's part of that. Huh?
Yeah, so this was my 3rd or 4th of that, and my first one was a failure. So it was Denali, failure in that I didn't reach the top. Success that I came back alive with all.
Denali's in Alaska.
Yeah. And I've been up there 3 times, snowboarded it once, and that's still the one that I've not stood on top. All the rest been on top.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's what happens in life.
That's the way it's going to be, or you're going to finish it.
Yeah, and you never know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Everest was one of them. I did not intend to solo it. That was not part of the plan. I did go independent.
So you had a team all the way up, and
well, I was independent, but I had like Sherpa support.
I
So I had a climbing Sherpa with me.
So did you hire that person once you got over there? As part of your
being in Seattle, a lot of the guides are there, so I was able to coordinate everything prior to going. Worked with sponsors for funding, and took a less expensive route.
Right.
I had a good climbing Sherpa, Pasong. We're good friends still, and
so it's just the 2 of you, except for other people you saw.
Yeah, and you have porters, so it's 38 miles on foot just to get to base camp, which is at 17,500 feet, and then you start heading up and down the mountain, acclimating. And from there, it was really Pasong and myself, and we'd have like some cooks at like base camp and advanced base camp.
Let's back up a little bit. So
backing up.
Take us I guess this is a little self-serving.
Go for it.
Because I've really been toying with, do I ever want to climb Everest? And I've seen,
read this and maybe you won't.
Yeah, I'm going to read your book, and I've seen the movies, and I'm like, it looks effing painful.
Yeah, it is.
I like to be at those altitudes, one foot in front of the other. I'm like, ugh, I'm not sure I want to do that because I've had a lot of, I know what that's like.
Yeah, it's a sufferfest. It's weird
a total
that
sufferfest.
you desire it, though, once you're away from it. It's that short-term memory.
Get it. I know. So, where'd you fly into? Did you climb the Nepal or Tibetan side? Give us the details
Yeah,
about
so I flew into Kathmandu.
Kathmandu.
And then from there, you fly to the shortest, highest airport in the world there, and you either land or you don't. It's just that. It's crazy. It's just tiny little runway.
Huh.
And then from there, it's 38 miles on foot.
And what's the name of the town the runway is in?
Lukla.
Lukla. And that's in Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you got to walk 38 miles. What's the altitude at the runway or at the,
It's about 7,000 feet.
7, so you go 10,000 feet.
Yep,
in 38
so it takes
miles.
about a week and a half.
So it's a nice gradual ascent, but you're still not acclimated at 17,000 feet to what you need to
Oh,
do.
no. No, because there's
What's the height of Everest?
29,000.
29,000.
Yeah, and at that altitude, there's only a third of the air, third of the ozone. So
At 29,000?
yeah, so if you were to pluck your body from here, put you on the top, you'd pass out and die.
Immediately.
Within-
so you have to work.
within
You
minutes.
have to acclimatize, obviously.
Yep.
So you set up base camp, and I've seen pictures. Is it as crazy as it looks? Like, how many teams were up there at base camp when you were there?
It's always tough to tell because base camp, you have base camp trekkers, people that go
Just go to base camp
just to
and then
base
leave,
camp.
I see.
You'll have support groups that are there as well. You have the medical tent, so not everyone is going higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then even some that are going higher, they might just be touching the ice fall, the Kumu Ice Fall, or going up to advanced base camp, which is Camp 2, and that's as high as they're going. Or they're climbing another peak.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you can go on to a different peak from the Everest base camp.
Yeah, like Lhotse, the fourth highest mountain in the world.
Okay.
You actually climb up Lhotse to get to high camp on Everest, and then you go up.
Oh, I see. Okay, so base camp, you were there for how long?
A long time. The whole expedition was 2 months. So
Oh, wow.
I'm always going up and down. So acclimatization takes about a month.
So you're at base camp for a month. So you set up your tent. Every day you get up and you do
Yeah.
some distance and then come back to.
Or you have a couple days of rest. Or, I even went down and climbed Island Peak, which is a 20,000 foot peak, which is, 15 miles away.
Just a minor little excursion. Huh?
Nothing but time.
Interesting. Okay, so you're starting to set the stage for me. Were you bored? Like, if you're just sitting there in your tent for 2 days,
Yeah.
waiting for the next ascent, letting your body
Yeah,
acclimatize.
total boredom. So, that's...
Because you can't possibly bring enough books with you because you don't want to carry the weight.
No, and you start borrowing books, and I even brought like a little mini laptop to watch Star Wars and, whatever else I downloaded. And yeah, mental toughness is way, it's super important over physical. Like physically,
Big time.
you can figure things out. Your body's going to adjust.
Mhm.
It's when you have a family at home. There's a million reasons to just pack it up.
For
head
sure.
home.
I can imagine that, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so you didn't do that. And then you get to how do you know when you're ready to go up
To the summit.
to the summit?
So the first month you're acclimating. Once you get to Camp 3, which is anchored on the side of Lhotse face, so that's where the tents are like hanging
They're
off the side.
bolted in, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
anchored off. That's as high as you can go to acclimate. The death zone is at 26,000 feet, which is 3,000 feet higher than that.
Okay.
But once you've
So
rotated,
once you start hitting that and then heading back down.
Yeah, you bring it all the way back
how
down.
many times did you go up there?
I went to Camp 3 just the once, but it
Just
was went up to Camp 1, touched it, back. Camp 2, touch it, come back, stay the night. Up 3, stayed the night, back, and that's where you start using supplemental oxygen as well.
I see.
Yep,
While you're up there
Yeah,
staying.
at Camp 3, yeah.
Okay.
Except my regulator was
So then you
broke,
come
so-
back down. You take do you take a couple days after that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, what your body's doing when you force it into oxygen-deprived areas is it's reacting and it will build red blood cells, which carry oxygen.
Right.
So then each time it feels a
Building more red
lot
blood
less sucky.
Right.
But it's miserable. You've probably been at altitude and
Yeah.
you feel the effects
Yeah.
of AMS.
That's a good way to put it. A lot less sucky, but it still sucks.
It still sucks.
That's awesome. Okay, so then you go back up to Camp 3. Do you spend the night there, or do you just press through toward the summit? Let's explain how you do that.
Like on a summit push?
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you're fully acclimated, all the way back down to base camp, and you wait for a 5-day weather window because it takes so long to get in a position to go for the summit.
How accurate is the weather forecasting out there?
A lot better than in 1953. But they're triangulating it back to like Sweden and Seattle, and it's best effort. You never know what's going to come in. And sometimes you have to push through high winds. When I was heading up from Camp 3 to high camp, it was 70-mile-an-hour winds.
Wow.
So it's just pushing.
It could blow you off the mountain.
Yeah. Well, the good thing on Everest and some of these mountains is
They have
Sherpa,
ropes,
and
right.
you're anchored not to another person, but to the mountain itself.
Right.
So you have these anchors.
And you don't have to set those anchors. They're all there.
Unless they come loose, which a few did. But
that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're all metal and it's a conductor of heat, so the sun comes out.
Right. And it's in the ice.
Yep.
Not in the rock.
Correct.
Okay, so 5-day window comes. You find your 5-day window.
Okay.
Then you got to make your way back up to Camp 3.
Yes.
And then do you push on from there?
Yeah. So went up
Or
to.
do you stop and wait overnight or something like that?
No. So the first major obstacle is the Kumu Ice Fall. So that's a couple miles of just building-sized blocks of ice that are
Is this
constantly
after
falling.
Camp 3? Or?
This is right out of base camp.
Right out of base camp.
So you have to traverse this multiple times. This is where major deaths have occurred in the last, 5
Really?
years, where 16 Sherpa died.
I
When
remember that,
a big block of ice calved off. When I was going, it was looming over. It was a matter of time. And then the avalanche, like the year later, took out a ton of people.
So it's on that ice fall. It's really risky.
So yeah, once
Is
you get
that,
above that.
where you see pictures of people like taking ladders
Yeah.
over really sketchy?
Yeah, there in the western
Coom.
Coom is valley, but that's between Camp 1 and Camp 2.
You can have a crevasse that's like 300 feet, and you're just
Yeah.
scaling a ladder over time?
Yeah, and like 5 ladders tied together.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I said that out loud.
Yeah.
That would be a pucker factor 10 for me.
Yeah.
You don't look down, obviously. You just look ahead. Go.
Yeah. Like you get pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
After the first few times. Like, I don't know, there's nothing, too beautiful about the project there. Like
Right.
if you have to get down and hug the ladder, that's
For sure.
fine.
No one cares, right? You
Yeah.
just get over.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But you get good. I mean, Sherpa, some of them don't even like rope up, and they're just run across the thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it does happen where avalanches kick off because they're always kicking off. And a couple years ago, one got launched right off, and they still haven't found him.
Oh, man.
So it's good to clip in.
Yeah, I would say so. What do you clip into?
The fixed lines.
That go across. So
Yeah,
it's-
yeah. So
is that
there's-
at like waist level? Or?
Yeah, well, it's hanging down, and you
It's
lift it
hanging
up.
down. Okay.
Yeah,
So you can kind of think it's like a little rope bridge kind of thing.
you could.
You can think whatever you want, Mark.
Yeah, it makes you feel good about yourself.
Exactly. Right. Whatever you want, Mark. Okay, so you get through that obstacle.
Yep, got it. Bypassed Camp 1, went up to Camp 2, stayed the night there,
Okay.
and then the next morning went up to Camp 3 and waited for Pasong.
And what is those traverse? Like, what is that like? That traverse from
So-
say Camp 2 to Camp 3?
So that's very difficult
Is it?
because it's straight up. It's a straight up ice and snow and rock climb for a couple miles.
Straight up, not like 100% vertical, obviously. What's the?
It's pretty close.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at pictures, I mean, this is where people will use a restroom in the middle of the night. If they slip, they fall and game over. So you always want to be protected, clip in, no matter what.
Are there any ledges to pause on?
So
or-
we cut out shelves and put the tents,
I see.
but the tents are just all roped up, and just
Right.
getting from the rope to the actual climbing ropes, the fixed lines, like I always have 2
Always
safeties
clipped
clipped
in,
in,
yeah.
yep. Because you're coming in and out of anchors,
Right.
and you don't want to be completely out.
Right.
So you clip one. And with all that gear and, down suit, oxygen, like you can't see anything, it's tough.
Yeah, you're wearing a mask, right? Because you have O2 on.
Yep.
And does that get all clouded up, or it's
Mhm.
just
Well, it's the
narrows
goggles.
your range of vision? Obviously,
Yeah,
goggles.
it's the goggles and, any contrast of cold and hot,
Right.
is going to fog up.
So you're not sitting up there going, "Oh, this is such a beautiful view."
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Once in a while, you
have those
pause.
moments. I mean, you got to stop and just take it in. Like, oh my gosh, I'm on Everest.
Right. Okay. I think I'm talking myself out of it.
Did you use ice picks? Is that how you were climbing?
So yeah, I have an ice axe, but up there, it's more of a device called an ascender, Or a Jumar.
Yeah, the Jumar you hook on the line.
Yep,
So
it's got
that's
like
to keep
backwards
you from
teeth.
sliding down.
Exactly. Except when it ices up.
And the
it's
ice axe is going to be on your person. You're not going to be having it in your hand.
Yeah,
right?
but up there, I mean, you honestly don't use it. There's certain sections, like in the ice fall and stuff I did, where it's a little more technical. Up higher, I mean, it's Jumar, and on the way down, it's just rappelling,
Right.
like
Maybe
Aussie
the
style.
first guys who went up and set the lines had to use the ice axes, right?
Sure. I left mine at Camp 3 because
You
it was
did?
just extra weight.
Extra weight. How far is it from Camp 3 to the summit?
Well, you still got to get to high camp, which is the South
okay.
Col.
Okay.
So you continue climbing up. Figure everything is a couple miles. Get up to high camp, highest camp in the world.
And how long would that take you from Camp 3 to high camp?
I don't know, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So it's just
A long
everything
slog.
is just slow motion.
Right.
So at altitude, your body is just, even if you're acclimated, I mean, it
You're
takes,
not going fast at all.
it's like 5 seconds between every step.
Is that right?
And that's if you're moving. Like there was people I thought were like dead on the rope, this Indian team.
But they were
And
just-
I'm like, and we're all, pretty much vertical. And they're just kind of slowly looking at me. I just kind of clip around them and keep moving. It's like, man,
They just couldn't move any faster.
yeah. So I don't know if they made it to the top eventually or not, but maybe they just weren't super acclimated. I don't know.
And there's no like referee saying, you got to go down now.
No.
You're not going to make it to the top.
No, you can encourage people to do the right thing, but in the end, they have to make those decisions. And
This is a random question. How many people die on Everest every year?
It's a random number too.
Is it?
But
It's
there's a
never
couple
like an
hundred
average.
bodies up there.
A couple hundred bodies up there. And it's getting more and more people who shouldn't be on the mountain are up there, right? I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe that's the group you passed, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's a couple bad apples, right? Because the press will get a hold of it.
Right.
The people I've stopped and talked to, I mean, these are people, this is their life dream. They've been working towards it. But you certainly see some people who are just like, yeah, you might want to reconsider what you're doing here. Because they're
Right.
putting themselves and others at risk.
Right. And I remember, I think the name was Krakauer.
Mhm.
Krakauer
Into Thin Air.
Write the book Into Thin Air,
Yeah.
which was such a powerful story. Of course, it's probably dating it a little bit now, but that was, I think, my first exposure to just how risky it is.
Yeah.
He talks about the Japanese, I think, husband and wife team, and they both just froze to death.
Yeah.
Really just wandered. I don't know if it was two. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. One of them, at least, got lost in
Yep.
a snowstorm.
Yeah, when a whiteout comes
In a
in,
whiteout, and boom.
can't see a thing.
Can't see a thing. Well, that's getting us closer to kind of what happened to you, because there's a story. You didn't just go up and down and
Right.
high five and have a 6-pack of beer to
Oh, no,
celebrate.
that would have been beautiful.
I bet it would have. Okay, so the final ascent to the summit. Tell us that.
Yep. So I get to high camp. Later that night, I'm going for the summit. So myself and Pasong.
And you do it at night because you want to be there for sunrise?
Yeah. So when the sun comes out, things warm up.
Yeah.
That's when avalanches
That's
kick
when it
off.
starts to get risky.
Yeah. So all your gear, it's made for like bulletproof ice. So you
Uh-huh.
go all through the night, headlamp, and then as the sun is rising is when you want to be on the summit. So then you can descend before things get slushy and dangerous.
I see.
So we headed up about 8, 9 o'clock and just started cruising. And I was moving pretty efficiently, and Pasong was just kind of inching back. And we had planned it out. I'd get to the halfway point, and a lot of these are like references in Krakauer's book,
Mhm.
where a lot of things happen. But got to the balcony area at 27,500 feet, waited an hour for Pasong, and
And what happened to him?
he's just succumbing to altitude. He was
Okay.
not feeling well, and he's like,
And
I
this
don't.
is a guy who'd been up there many times.
Mhm.
Just this time wasn't
Yeah,
working.
it wasn't his day. I mean, one day you could be feeling good, the next not so much. And he's like, he's not feeling, he told me I'm not feeling good. I gave him some water. He threw up. I'm like, dude, like we
You
need to
need to
turn back. And he's like, no, let's continue. And important note is we're the only two people climbing to the summit from either side, from Tibet or Nepal,
On that day. On
which
that
is very rare.
night. Interesting.
And we just we both continued to about 28,000 feet, and then he just tapped out. He's like, I can't do it.
And what was going through your mind at that time? Did
So-
you consider turning around?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, at that point, and I've soloed a lot of mountains, so
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. But that's not.
But
the
that's a
import-
big deal.
It's a big deal. We're on Everest.
And you got 1,000 feet to go.
Yeah, and
Treacherous terrain.
yeah, in some of the toughest sections on the
Right.
mountain. And I weighed all that out. You get in those situations, and all you have is what's within
Of
reach.
course. Yeah, the best decision at the time you
Yep.
can make.
And that's what we went through. And he assured me, the most important thing,
He helped you with this process.
could he get down,
Right.
was weighing in my head. And he assured me yes. In fact, he said he was going to wait at the balcony, which was really close. So he dropped an extra oxygen bottle and a spare bottle, and I continued up, and he went down. And after that, did some rock climbing at 28,000 feet, which is insane. Got to the south summit, got to the...
What do you mean? So you're still following a route that had some ropes,
the
right?
fixed lines.
Still following the fixed line, but it's going over like bouldering on top of what
Yeah,
face?
yeah. Like down here, we just run up there. It's like you find a small crack to stick a point in, and try to lower your heart rate because it's
Got
just
it.
every move, Jumar up. It's just super tough. And then over the south summit, Hillary Step, there's a section that's this wide, and it's a 2-mile drop on each side of you.
I did a podcast with a guy named Jimmy Chu.
Yeah.
Who?
Jimmy Chin.
Jimmy Chin, yeah, not Jimmy Chu.
Jimmy Chu makes your shoes.
Yeah, I did not do a podcast with him. But Jimmy Chin skied off that damn thing.
I know, it's insane. North Face was up there when I was there, and it's just insane because it's not like good snow conditions,
Right.
but it's to do it. I snowboarded
mind-boggling.
Denali, and that was ridiculous too. You're just carrying too much weight to
Right.
snowboard, but so yeah, I don't recommend that. But yeah, I made it to the summit over Hillary Step. It's a 40-foot rock climb, and just those last steps to reach the summit is just
Amazing, huh?
it's something you try so much to process in the moment, but it's
Right.
impossible because
And you
it's
can't
something-
stay there very long to like revel in your victory, can you?
No, not at all.
How long did you stay in the
Maybe
sun?
an hour. But
Okay,
like
that's
time-
longer than I would have thought.
Time doesn't even matter. I got up there, and actually the first thing I did right before I got to the top was I took a dump right on the summit.
Thanks for that information.
It's like
Maybe I'll go find it up there someday.
It was happening.
You're probably not the first person to do that.
There's a lot of pressure up there. It was happening. It's like, oh, seriously? Yeah, my down suit's like freezing open. I'm
Oh
like,
my god, that's awesome.
I actually wrote like 2.5 pages describing it in my book.
Just the experience of
Yeah,
trying to get
'cause
to where you can even.
Because it extended my exposure, like literally.
For sure, yeah.
But my publisher, Tyndale House, is like, I don't know.
Maybe
if
we
should
cut
put
this down to
I'm
just a
like,
few sentences.
No, keep it in there. You can cut it down a little, but I'm
That's
kind of
awesome.
proud.
Heck yeah!
It's gotta
Like
be
leave them a
something.
little memento up there.
So I was up there, took some pictures, highest selfie in the world, made a radio call down, and
Could you speak to your family from up the top?
if I had a sat phone,
Yeah,
and I
yes.
always do, and this trip I didn't get mine in time, so
Uh-huh.
I could not.
You couldn't.
But my wife was able, when I radioed down, she actually found out through the Sherpa grapevine
That you hit this
that
up.
I made it.
Okay.
So so less than an hour up there, got some water, and I had to head down,
Mhm.
just trying to like take it in.
Is the
and-
sun up by this time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, the sun was up. Yeah, in fact, the sun started rising like pretty much after Pasong.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was about
Does
that
that
time.
mean you were a little bit behind schedule?
Not necessarily.
No? Okay.
No, that's about the right time, about
Okay.
6, 7 a.m. And I started heading down, and within 10, 15 feet, everything went white.
So tell us why that happened.
So it's snow blind.
Right.
So snow
It
blindness.
didn't go white because of snow. Was it snow or because you were blind
I went blind.
from the sun?
Yeah,
The
so
exposure,
as
the
soon
sun,
as-
the sun glancing off the snow
Yeah.
blinded you.
Yeah, so I'd
Is that a
cracked my...
common thing? Don't you have like shades on?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd cracked my goggles a day prior,
Oh.
and it was freezing between layers, and I had ripped the internal lens out, not realizing that it probably cut their effectiveness in half.
Uh-huh.
Between that, having blue eyes, more
Yeah,
susceptible,
I'm pretty sensitive.
and then just, taking my goggles off often. I think combination of everything, it's all like... it all goes together. It's all damage to the eyes,
Mhm.
and then once it happens, it's like snap of the fingers. It happens.
So describe what that is like.
So snow blindness is the sunburning of the cornea, and it usually takes
Is it-
24 hours to return.
Painful?
Super painful. It's like if you break potato chips and put it in your eyelids.
Jesus.
It's just, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And it's bright white. It's not like blind black. So like if
But you can't see any features of
you can't
anything.
see anything. If you put a light bulb like an inch from your face, you can put your finger there, you'll know something just moved. You'll see like the shadow, but that's it. You cannot
This
focus.
is not good.
It's not good. And at that
Not
moment,
when you're standing on top of 29,000.
no, highest person in the world, alone, blind, and without overthinking it, I just got up and started moving. So just
Did you have were you holding onto a rope?
I was holding very tight to the rope.
I can imagine.
And 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts were starting, which we knew was going to happen, and I could hear them. So my other senses, I think, were heightened, but I'm not normally blind. I mean, I was trying so hard to use my eyes; they just wouldn't work. And usually takes 24 hours.
Did you close your eyes at that point and just kind of go dark, or did you keep your eyes open?
No, I kept them open. I don't know if it kept my balance.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's in the
Just
moment.
seemed like the right thing to do.
I knew I had to focus, like, without being able to focus, and just kept moving. And it was strange because this whole time I felt this presence around me, just like a friendly presence. I didn't think about it, but it was just like peaceful.
Like a spirit guide, or just like
Something.
Huh,
And I just kept moving. Should have taken me 3 hours to get to high camp. Took me 7.
So wait a minute. So you have to. The rope is your guide, so to speak, right? If you just keep your hand on the rope, like I'm trying to think of what my mind would be like. Just never lose contact with the rope.
Yep.
Now, are you face to the mountain?
Yeah, I'm walking
face to the
down
mountain,
the mountain.
or are you facing outward?
No, I'm like roped to my side, walking down.
Walking down the mountain with your chest,
Right.
and you're staying really close to the rock and the snow, right?
The problem is they don't clean the ropes up that high. So if you clip into the
So
wrong
there's
rope,
ice and
you're going for a fall.
Now, what do you mean by that? Explain that to me.
Because ropes get brittle over time.
Okay.
So they'll put new ropes each season. So making sure that I was clipping in and out of the
How many
right
ropes
one.
would be there, like next to each other?
It's like dreadlocks up there.
Really?
Yeah, this has been going on for decades.
Well, how do you know which one's the right rope?
The most tight one.
Okay.
So, and then making sure, locking carabiner, coming in and out using sound, clip, coming out, stopping,
And this is
getting
with
water.
hands that are in gloves
Yeah.
that are probably frozen or cold.
I don't remember that as
No.
a problem. Probably was. I definitely have some dexterity issues
Yeah.
now, but
Interesting.
I was just so focused and just, never giving up my faith. I was not going to die. It would have been
Did you
peaceful
have-
to die
Yeah, of course. I'm sure.
because everything was slow.
Right. Huh. What was actually going through your, what was the mantra? What was the internal dialogue?
It was one more step. Keep moving. Do not give up. And at one point I took a fall off the south summit and I was just out of control falling.
Really?
And, go climb to the roof, close your eyes and jump. It's that feeling.
That's how it felt.
And
You were roped in, though.
I
still.
was, and the rope shock loaded. And I remember just upside down. And at that altitude, my heart was just
So the
racing.
rope saved
and
you?
The
shock loaded meaning you came to some sort of
Yeah.
natural stopping point, and
Correct.
the rope held
Yeah, I'm
you. If it
upside
didn't hold
down.
you, you would have
Yeah,
died.
I'd have kept going. And I'm upside down, oxygen bottle out, ripped from my face, and, righted myself and just had to calm myself down. In moments like that, just had to calm because that's
That
like
must have been
forced
just
panic.
terror, right?
Yeah.
I bet your air rescue training came in handy
Yeah.
at that point in time.
We did do a lot of oxygen deprived
Right.
work and never panic. I mean, a lot
Never
of it
panic.
probably the same for
Like
you, right?
underwater or any type of those extreme environments.
Yeah,
Right?
just stay
breathe
calm.
deeply, stay calm.
Yeah.
And the mantra,
Yeah.
one more step. Did you have a sense that you knew you were going to make it through this? Or were you not?
I was forcing out the fact that looking back, there was a pretty darn good chance I was going to die.
Okay. Right.
Everything was not.
You knew that rationally, but you wouldn't let yourself
Right.
think about it.
Compartmentalized, kept moving, and
As long as you could take another step, everything was going to be fine.
correct.
Just one step at a
Yep.
time.
And
Yeah.
just took so much effort, so much time. I got to the point where Pasang was supposed to be, and he wasn't.
He wasn't there.
Yeah, calling out for him, and I remember feeling good being at that point because I was halfway down. I just had
Right.
like 20
That
pitches
was
of
like
rappel.
a micro victory there.
Yeah, and then at that point, about 20 feet into it, my mask just sucks into my face. So
What does that
ran
mean?
out of oxygen.
Really?
And I remember ripping my mask from my face and just like, at that point, it had been 32 hours of continual climbing from the point, the day before to this point. And I just prayed at that point, just, God, I can't do this alone. and just immediately just felt this energy come over me. And I remember the first thing I did was I reached into my pack and grabbed the bottle that had previously failed, the one that Pasang had given. I had tried it up earlier, and I like put my regulator on it, by touch, and felt a positive flow. I remember just taking like 5 deep breaths, and it burned. It was like fire re-entering my.
So you can't breathe without the oxygen.
You can, but there's only a third of the air. And
had you not gotten that oxygen, you would have died, do you think?
I don't know. Like, you ask anyone else, there's a much higher risk of death in that situation.
Yeah. Haven't people soloed without oxygen, though?
Mm-hmm.
And how do
the difference is the whole time they're off oxygen, when you've been on it, you've now just jumped up like 2,000 feet. So if you're already off, then you're already used to it.
I see.
When you're breathing on it, you come off of it.
Because you were on it, then all of a sudden to go from all that oxygen to 1/3 of the oxygen, and that's the extreme.
Yeah, so it's not like scuba.
Change.
It's not 100% compressed, because then you would die if you came off, but it just mixes like pressurization in an airplane. But got that air.
So that second bottle miraculously started working again.
Starts working, didn't overthink it, got everything packed, started just bombing down as fast as I could without tripping over myself, which was
because
probably.
you didn't want the bottle to fail.
I just had life.
Yeah, because
I wanted to take advantage of this.
You cheated death one more time, right?
Yeah.
Holy
and
cow.
I got to about the last quarter mile and just kind of stumbling through, grabbing my line, can't see a thing, so bright. Now it's like, midday, and out of nowhere, Pasang just hugs me. He's like, "Brian, you alive?" And I'm like, "Whoa." And he's like, "I'm so sorry I leave you." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it, dude." It's like,
did he know you were snow blinded at the time?
Yeah.
He could tell by the way you were stumbling.
In the book, it's cute. He's like, I reach him and his eyes no work. So he helped me back. I'm stumbling over rocks, and I passed out in the tent for about 15 hours. I lost 20 pounds, which I don't have 20 pounds to lose.
No, I was going to say.
And I didn't fully regain my eyesight for about a month and a half.
So you had to go down the rest of the mountains.
Still had to get down, yeah. So the next day, down Lhotse Face.
But you had your team with you now, or your team.
Yeah, so I had more help, had people around. Got down to Camp 2. It was the first time I got to talk to my wife.
Awesome.
And sat phone, called her. I'm like, I soloed the summit. I'm blind. And then the phone cut out.
Oh, so she didn't.
So I own the worst phone call to spouse ever. Gosh, it's so horrible.
Well, no, the worst would have been.
Yes. Yeah, I got second worst.
Somebody else, right? So she was stoked. Huh. What year was this? When did this happen?
2011.
2011, okay.
Yep.
Have you climbed any more of the Seven Sisters since then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
So that didn't deter you. You weren't like, that's it, I'm done, no more.
No, but I mean, I definitely thought about that, because I had a lot of PTSD from this, where I just be crying in the shower for whatever reason, or I do motivational talks, and even now it comes back, it gets emotional just going through that. I've filmed reenactments. They're looking to make a full movie on it. My agent is, and it's tough. But the most therapeutic thing I can do is getting back in the mountains.
What was the book? Into the Void, was it?
Mm-hmm. Touching the Void.
Touching the Void.
Yeah.
Another crazy powerful experience.
Yeah.
Where the guy had a fall, broke his leg, right?
Yeah, he was in the crevasse.
Was hanging upside down in the crevasse. Nobody came to get him.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't.
Right.
So finally he cut himself free.
Right.
Have you ever met him?
I have not.
It'd be neat for you guys to meet up and
share stories.
Share stories.
Of misery.
Or maybe we do a joint podcast or something.
That'd be cool.
That's fascinating. So I could see how you had a post-traumatic stress from that. And so probably getting back on the mountain was your therapy. Or one way that you dealt with it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, in fact, I was down in Antarctica that same year, November of that year, and summited up there at highest peak. It's -70 on the summit. It's a little chilly, but just amazing. It's like being on the moon, being in Antarctica.
That is something I would love to do. Now, is that as hard or as technical as climbing one of the 7 summits?
It is. It's the highest in Antarctica.
Yeah. So that's one of the 7 summits.
Yeah. It's similar to
it's the highest summit in each continent. Antarctica is considered one of them.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's very doable. It's like Denali. You carry a sled.
Something I could do. Maybe.
Well, I'm sure you could do everything once your foot heals.
I've got to think about it. I need a new challenge.
Have you done Rainier?
I have not.
Come on up. I'll take you up.
All right. I said that out loud.
Whitney in a few weeks.
Huh?
Whitney.
Whitney.
I've done Whitney. I ran up Whitney.
That's a walk. Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
I ran up Whitney after drinking a 6-pack of beer and staying up all night.
Wow,
That's what
thank
we used
you.
to do back
I
in
just
Build
brought
Team
my
3.
12-year-old son up there this
Whitney
this
or
summer.
Rainier?
Yeah, Whitney.
Okay.
Oh, Rainier too. Not to the summit yet.
I want to take you up on that.
Okay, let's do it.
I got to figure out when. We got to, so we'll
Like
make sure
July
we
or
connect our emails after this. That would be
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
Just to, I would love to do. I want to do something with someone who really knows what they're doing.
Okay.
And I have a
I'll try to
connection with
find
you.
someone.
You know anyone? The fact that you almost died and you still do it tells me you know what you're doing. We got to wrap this up, but this is fascinating. Really, really interesting. What do you? So you have an agent. You're speaking now. You got an inspirational story. Like, what do you consider to be your purpose now? Like, what keeps you motivated besides climbing to get up every day and
Yeah. I mean,
Get cranky.
it's a lot, right? It's hard to pinpoint one thing, but to be able to impact others, I think this was a pivotal point in my life. Like, I had a
Okay.
purpose as being a dad, being a husband, everything else, which is all good. And I still balance all that out. And I instill that adventure in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not big on devices and everything else.
Mhm.
And that'll set my kids apart in a good way.
right?
But to be able to speak in front of like major companies and be on TV and everything else, and then have people come talk to me afterward, and no one's gonna have a blind descent on Everest, I hope, right?
Yeah.
But I survived for some reason, and maybe it's
Right.
to help someone who's dealing with cancer, or
Yeah. Some other
PTSD, or
challenge.
some other financial.
Their own
never
version
know.
of the blind descent.
Exactly.
Good for you. Yeah. Good job. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to meet you, and
Yeah.
thanks for sharing your story. I know everyone probably was as enthralled as I was. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I'm a very visual guy, so I was right there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I can see it. I can't feel what you felt quite, but I've been in a lot of near-death situations in my day too,
Yeah.
so I can appreciate what you went through to some degree. Very cool. I guess that's it. Hoo-yah, where can we find out more about your work and the book, Blind Descent? Obviously, we can find it on Amazon and whatnot.
Yep.
Is there a particular website you'd like people to go to?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to briandickinson.net.
BrianDickinson.net.
I'm on social media. My handle's Brian C. Dickinson.
Okay.
Yeah. So otherwise, yeah, Amazon.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
You
Thank
rock, man. I would look forward to climbing Rainier with you.
Let's do it.
I got to stop saying this stuff live on TV.
Gotcha.
Pretty soon
You're
I'm gonna
doing
be
it.
like, why did I say
it'll
that?
be awesome.
That will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful area up there.
Mm-hmm.
I love Oregon and Washington. That area is amazing. Well, all right, folks. That's it. Brian Dickinson. Check out his book, Blind Descent. What a cool guy. And stand by. Hopefully we'll meet up with Brian again in the future. In the meantime, stay focused yourself and get through your own blind descents through meticulous planning, paying attention to your breath, having a lot of faith, right? Something that's grown more and more in my life, right? Just if you have faith that there's more to this world than just us,
Right.
and then you might be surprised who's there to support you. So hoo-yah. We'll see you next time. Divine out. Hey, this is Mark Divine. Thanks very much for watching the Unbeatable Mind podcast on YouTube. You can also find the podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and unbeatablemind.com/podcast. Be sure to check out the new episode released every week. Hoo-yah.